Good morning, everyone. It is good to see you all. I'm super excited to have you here. I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is navigation related. But they say that you should only fight the fights you know you can win. I am about to fight a fight that I know I will not win. People will not listen to me on this one. Even though I'm right, and they may even say that I'm right, it ain't gonna happen. That said, I need to make my case. You should not be using turn-by-turn directions if you want to get good at navigation in the backcountry. And while I am including in that statement using turn-by-turn directions in the backcountry, which I will confess until about a year ago I didn't even know was a thing, but I'm going to make the bolder statement and say you shouldn't be doing it in the front country either. Maybe I'll give you a few caveats, but turn-by-turn directions, if your goal is to get proficient and comfortable in navigation, turn-by-turn directions are shooting yourself in the foot. Let's talk about it. Let's go. Okay, so what got me started thinking about this was being a little bit of a navigation nerd. I was watching another channel's sort of review video and tips and tricks of the Garmin GPS Map 86 SC, which is the one that I own. I'm always looking for maybe I missed something, so maybe there's something cool here. And the video was fine. I didn't really learn anything, but it was a well done video. But the comments got me going. And so I'm going to share those with you. The first one I want to talk about is, and as I talk about these, I'll sort of talk about the answer or the response to these or how to fix these. First comment, a basic lesson is set a waypoint from where you start. Totally agree. I almost always make a waypoint at the trailhead or the put-in. And that may be the only one that I do. He continues, as you hike off into the bush or down a trail, whenever you walk 100 feet, mark a waypoint. 100 feet. Or when you come to a fork in the trail or a landmark. These I don't horribly disagree with. Where trails cross, major landmarks, I think it's not a bad idea to make a waypoint there. The more the better. Don't worry, waypoints are free. That is accurate. Waypoints are free, but you don't need them every 100 feet. Think about how many. Literally, that could be thousands of waypoints on your hike or paddle or whatever. As long as you have marked waypoints, you'll be able to find your way back. This is problematic because it's essentially creating turn-by-turn directions. And with turn-by-turn directions, we're not thinking about navigation. The device is thinking about navigation, and that's setting us up for trouble. Here is someone asking for help of someone in this community. I bought my wife a GPS Map 64 SX, great GPS. She wants it for one purpose, to walk from her car on trails into the woods, and then when she gets tired, to have the device direct her back to her car, following the exact path she took to get where she currently is. That, I would think, would be a basic function of a GPS, and it is, and Garmin calls it track back, where it will literally lead you back. But once again, this person is not thinking about where they are starting, where they are ending. Are they so lost in thought that they can't remember the trail? So I've talked a lot about building a map. You've got to build a map in your head, and you do that by looking around. And I will frequently stop and look behind me to see what the trail looks like, because the trail looks very different walking out versus walking back. The same thing with coastlines. I do the exact same thing in my boat. Okay, the last one. One thing for comment readers to keep in mind is that just dropping a waypoint somewhere is not enough to get you there in the field, unless you have a helicopter. Roads and trails are crucial. I used to think a waypoint at your car is enough to get you back. It's not. It doesn't matter if your car is a quarter of a mile away, if there is a swamp in between. Obvious to veterans, but not beginners. He is correct. However, there's a standard protocol for navigating around an obstacle, a swamp, a lake, whatever. A 90-degree right turn, a 90-degree left turn, a 90-degree left turn, a 90-degree right turn will take you around any obstacle, right? And that's pretty standard, and you just keep track of how far you walked for each of those legs and repeat them. But the other thing is, most people are hiking on trail. Trails generally don't cut across swamps, but this is just a sort of a lack of thought in terms of navigation. This person is not visualizing what they need to do, and it comes down to visualizing. Okay, so what's wrong with turn-by-turn directions? As I drive down the road, what's wrong with using my phone to get turn-by-turn directions? And the first thing that you have to understand is that navigation is a skill that if you do not use, you will lose. You absolutely have to practice that skill and use that skill. So any opportunity to sort of work those skills is a great way to keep in practice. And navigating, even in a vehicle, gets your brain thinking about the relationship of different locations to you. And so that is a great thing. Now, I'm not saying if you're driving cross country or cross state or going someplace you've never been before that you're probably never going to go again, you can't use turn-by-turn directions. Of course, if you were to do that navigation with a map, it would be building skills for you, but I totally get that that's a really easy thing to do for people. However, if you're using turn-by-turn directions on a daily basis to get around the town you live in, you're losing an opportunity and you're hindering your ability to navigate. And to illustrate what I'm talking about, I want you to think about a baseball field. I've never played baseball in my life, but if someone planted me at home base and said, walk to first base, I could walk down the first base line and guesstimate the distance to get to first base. Having never played baseball, I can do that because it's ingrained in my head as to what a baseball field looks like. I could then know that from there, in order to get to second base, I would just have to make a left and go that way about 90 feet. I'll add, the only reason I'm not actually walking on this baseball field is that it is so beautifully manicured, I don't want to mess it up. And the reason that that works is that I have a map in my head of what a baseball field looks like. That map is ingrained just because of culture in the United States. We need to build that same map when we're navigating, and we do it just by walking the trail or paddling the coast. But if I've got a computer of some sort, be it a handheld GPS or my watch or my phone, if I have that telling me where to turn and when to turn, I'm not building that map. And building that map is the skill that we have to get good at. So is one waypoint enough? Absolutely. Avoiding the problem of, unless you're in a helicopter and there is a swamp in the way, which is really simple navigation, with one waypoint, I can then use a GPS or an app on my phone to tell me a distance and a direction. And if you know that distance and direction, it's simple enough just to reverse the direction and use the distance to figure out exactly where you are. It's very simple. You don't need to make a waypoint every 100 feet because then you're going to spend your day walking through beautiful places looking at your phone when you should be looking at those beautiful places. But if I, for instance, use my van as my waypoint, it's as simple as knowing how far behind me it is, then turning around and reversing that course. So to the person who was like, what's the process to walk a track out? And a track is just a line that you've drawn by walking it with a GPS tracking your location. On Garmin, you can track back the exact path you took or in a straight line. And that's a fairly basic, fairly common thing. And you've got to just sort of dig down a little bit and there will be some variation GPS to GPS. That's a very basic skill. And I recommend to folks who are new to GPS to walk to a place like this, an open field, and make a couple of waypoints and use the device to navigate back to them. It's really not that hard. So why should I bother is your next question when I can just use turn-by-turn directions, and why should I put all the effort into getting good at this? Why should I put in the effort to learn how to navigate when computers do it for us literally everywhere we go? And the reason is, in the backcountry, you may have a computer that dies. You may have a battery that dies. Your phone may get wet. Your GPS can die. I had a GPS, granted, it was a long time ago. It was a very old GPS. Die in the middle of a Knowles course. And so I had just sort of been keeping track of where we had camped to have waypoints for all the places that I camped, and it just completely crapped out like halfway through the course in sight of a glacier. And so it can happen, and it doesn't happen often, but if it happens and you have no idea where you are or what to do, you're in trouble. And it's easy to not be in trouble. All you have to do is navigate. I will say there is one other thing about navigating without devices, which is this. Navigating with a compass and a pencil and a map or a chart is just super rewarding. It is so much fun. It is such a great skill to have because you'll use it in everything you do. If you're more accustomed to keeping track of where landmarks are, when you go visit a strange city, you're going to remember where the big landmarks are. When I went to Paris, I was like, I know where I am sort of in relation to my hotel because I know the angle between me and the Eiffel Tower. So it's a skill you will use every day, but if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, so that's my argument. I'm making the argument that turn by turn is bad, particularly in the backcountry, but even to a degree in the front country. And as I said in the beginning, this is one I do not expect to win. I expect people to be like, you're crazy, there's no way I'm not using it. But yeah, that's my argument. Use those skills, work those skills. If you found this helpful, if you found this amusing, even in the like, yeah, he's crazy, there's no way, do me a favor, hit like and hit subscribe. You can buy me a coffee on Coffee. My books are there. I do not have a navigation book yet. I'm still working on my sea kayak navigation book. But that'll be along maybe this year. I said that last year. It's a tough one. Gear lists are there. Float plans are there. Risk management stuff is there. It's all on Coffee. Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, I'll see you on the water. I gotta go hit some charts.